The problem with the current way we're dealing with the taxes, it creates a boom and bust cycle. The first, we start out with initial payment in lieu of taxes, like a tax abatement, and give us a big bump. And then when those payments, regular property taxes come in, they go down quickly because the equipment depreciates. We all know that value of computers doesn't last long. And the same thing for
5-6 years.
Yeah. So the property tax structure isn't stable over the long term.
Today, we're going to be focusing on the commissioner races for Wasco County Commissioner. And voters in Wasco County will see a crowded and competitive race in the May 19th primary election. 7 candidates, are running for 2 seats on the Wasco County Board of Commissioners. And it comes at a turning point for the county's future. 4 candidates, Lisa Gamby, John Grant, Nicole Beekler, and Rob Van Cleve, are running for position number 1. And Phil Brady, Dick Sheffield, and Mike Ernest are running for position number 2. This election comes as the county is seeing major new revenue from data center development, including millions of dollars tied to Google's investment. How that money is used could shape Wasco County for decades. That's one reason this is such a strong field of candidates, is my suspicion. The county is heading into what many expect to be more financially stable, even flush years, and the next board will help decide where the money goes and who benefits. Commissioners handle the county's budgets, policies, and major decisions. That includes housing, roads, public safety, wildfire planning, and economic growth, to name a few. It's a full-time election position with pay typically around $50,000 a year, as well as health benefits. If a candidate gets more than 50% of the vote in May, they win outright. And if not, the top 2 move on to the November election. CCCNews will be using our podcast format to interview these candidates over the next several weeks. We start today with Phil Brady, who is running for position number 3. Phil Brady is currently serving his first term as Wasco County Commissioner. A native of the Dalles, Phil's roots in the community began at his father's business, Brady's Market, and in the local orchards where he worked as a youth. Phil's academic background is in the sciences. He holds a BS in physics from Gonzaga University and a Master of Arts in Science Teaching from Lewis and Clark College. His professional path has been diverse, including 7 years in the Jesuit order and 9 years serving as a Catholic missionary in Venezuela alongside his wife, Mary Jo. Closer to home, Phil's career in education includes 25 years, which included teaching at Norcor and the Dalles High School. But before joining the county commission in 2023, he served as a trustee for the Mid-Columbia Medical Center for 8 years and was a co-chair of the Dalles Watershed Council. Over the last 4 years, his work on the commission is focused on housing, infrastructure, and healthcare access, including the development of low-income housing units and the stabilization of rural health clinics. He joins us today as a candidate for re-election to discuss his background and his goals for his second term. Commissioner Brady, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for doing this. I'm glad we have lots of candidates. It's really healthy for democracy to have choices and also to have issues that are going to shape our future.
Yeah, 7. I don't believe I can remember a time where we had 7 running.
Yeah, maybe we made it look too easy.
Maybe so. So we'll jump right into it. In this format, we're giving each candidate 30 minutes on the podcast to answer the questions. And so we'll just get her going here.
All right.
Housing costs and limited supply are repeatedly cited as one of the county's most urgent problems. A proposal has been floated for the county to help finance projects such as Mary Hanlon's Basalt Commons through a loan or similar tool. So to you, Phil, would you support the county using public financing tools such as loans, guarantees, or revolving housing funds to accelerate projects like Basalt Commons?
You're right that housing is an important issue, and it's one of the things that's blocking our growth. I'm currently the chairman of the Mid-Columbia Housing Authority, which is doing something incredible. We are building 130 units of low-income housing currently in Hood River, right off Rand Road. It's amazing. The biggest project in a decade. And right as soon as we finish that, we're going to turn around and start building 76 units of low-income housing on Channel Loop Road. I want to give credit to the Housing Authority staff, and I'm happy to say that I've learned a lot about housing development from them. The government issue, government financing is part of the picture, and it comes with some strings attached. When we include government housing, that comes along with higher standards because we want these buildings to last. They're going to get a lot of wear. It also comes with prevailing wage standards so that union workers get these jobs. And it also comes with income levels on the tenants. We really want the public housing to go where the people expect it to go and to serve the people who are going to live there. Let me talk about Basalt Commons because you mentioned that, and it's an important issue. Yeah. Let me explain what the county is not doing and what we are proposed to do. A decision hasn't been made quite yet. The Wasco County is not giving a loan or a grant or direct financial aid to the Basalt Commons project. But what is being proposed is that, and I'll say this slowly because it's got a couple steps to it. What is being proposed is that Wasco County buy the land underneath the project and then lease that land to the developer. So the land will stay in the public, becomes a low-risk possibility for the county, and it lowers the cost of the project because they don't have to buy the land. They can put all the money into the housing. So that's the structure of the arrangement.
Okay. Very good. So beyond that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Do beyond.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds good. So beyond that, what is the single most cost-effective policy lever a county commissioner can pull through zoning, land use changes, incentives, or partnerships to significantly increase affordable housing in the next 5 years?
As a physics teacher, I love the word lever.
Levers? I bet you do.
Because a lever is something where you apply a small force to move a big obstacle.
Right.
And in the world of housing development, the big obstacle is obtaining the land. Mm-hmm. Housing districts, housing authorities don't have the ability to levy a property tax, but it is under state law a possibility that a housing authority can levy a construction excise tax. And what that is a small tax on building permits. On the order of $500,000 home would have a tax of $1,000. $1,000 on $500,000 isn't going to make much difference to the buyer. But over several years and multiple homes, that creates enough income that the housing authority can go out and take that first step and get the land, and then go out and get the USDA and HUD loans to build the properties on it. So with that, then you can build up a lot of properties.
Yeah.
If I were to, my favorite thing to do is to take that, I go back to the idea of buying the land underneath the building and do that for individual homeowners. This is called a community land trust, and we're actually doing that in Carson and with a couple houses here in the Dalles on 10th Street. So the city or the county buys the land and keeps it. The housing authority builds the simple starter house on top of that.
Okay.
And then homeowners can come in, the starter homes, they get their own loan and own the house, not their land, and they get to build equity on it. Then they can go ahead and go on to use that equity to buy their next home. One more thing, the equity is capped so that the next buyer also gets an affordable phone. So it's something that keeps growing in the community, but gets people into their
It remains affordable for the next person moving into the home, is what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's a great model.
Yeah.
In general, the idea of mixing public and private financing is the genius of the American economy. We go both ways and avoid the extremes of both, and that way we have a strong economy and balance out when things go up and down.
Oh, okay. Very good. Just circling back for a second too, you mentioned the development over on Chenoweth Loop Road, and that was the Westgate Market, and they purchased that property, I want to say almost 4 years ago, and so you're saying that's kind of a linchpin in getting a project going, an affordable housing project going.
Yeah, the first step is getting the land.
Okay.
And then once you can't take too many more steps past that until you have the land, until you can't do the development and you can't go out and get the loans. So that's always the first step.
Yeah. And so to paraphrase back to you, so an excise tax or a tax on a new building of a house, which creates that fund for affordable housing. Now, is that a county?
Actually, this is already happening here. It's the state that's collecting the
state doing it. Okay.
The city and the county and the housing districts are not doing it.
Oh, fascinating.
It's not a possibility.
Very good. Well, I mean, they've been busy of late. They got a lot, like you said, Rand Road and the next project coming in the Dalles. So, okay. Well, hey, I'm going to move on to wildfire resilience. Of course, we had the Rowena fire and stuff in Lisle over the summer. Just quite a bad fire season for us in 2025. And we saw evacuations for thousands of residents and destroyed dozens of structures near the Dalles. So Phil, what specific investments or policy changes would you prioritize to ensure Wasco County is better prepared for the next large wildfire? Because it's probably coming, particularly in evacuation planning, fuel reduction, and infrastructure protection. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
We often talk about learning from our mistakes, but in the case of the Rowena fire, there are lots of things that the crews and the agencies did right that actually should become models for the whole county and the whole state, in fact. Right. Starting with evacuations. What we're doing now with that ready, set, go is great. It's easy to understand. The apps that we have on our phones show where the fire is in real time and where it's heading. And so the next step is to make sure that everybody has access to those apps and knows where to go. People are actually doing a pretty good job of heating fire. We learned that these things move fast. From ignition of the Rowena fire, it was only 12 minutes till it got to the first house. That's only time to get out and run and have your bags packed ahead of time if you're in a get ready or get set mode. Mm-hmm. In terms of protection, fuel reduction is essential. And there's three things about it. It's necessary, it's expensive, and it's got to be repeated because the stuff just keeps growing back up. That's interesting to compare what happened in the Eagle Creek fire with the Rowena fire in terms of property damage. Eagle Creek burned thousands of acres, but only a couple structures, whereas Rowena's fire was a small fire that burned 92 structures, 52 homes, because the Rowena was close to the forest. Yeah. And that's what makes our danger here is that we have housing communities that are either on the edge of the forest or the grasslands or into it. Yep. So to protect those, we need to ask the state to do more fuel treatment areas in those boundary areas. Okay. Fortunately, last year is that
like removing vegetation? When you say fuel treatment, what do you mean by that?
Yep. Thinning trees. Okay. What they call mastification, which means chewing. Yep. They have big monster weed eaters that chop things down. We've got a $5.9 million grant to do that on the areas around Sportsman's Paradise, west of Wamick up into the forest, the Forest Service areas there. But the process that works the best and lasts the longest is controlled burns. So we really need to get ourselves used to seeing controlled burns happen on the land. It's nature's way to keep fires going down. And the research shows that areas that had controlled burns, the trees stay healthy because their limbs are up above where the fire is down below. Yeah. With the unexpected thing, the thing that surprised me about Rowena fire was how it damaged the water and septic systems. Yeah. What happened is, in some cases, the water systems got burned, especially on Tully Terrace. And then the septic systems either got burned by the fire or the heavy machinery that was used to fight the fire or remove the toxic debris. So this is creating a challenge for us because people want to go back and rebuild, and we want them rebuilt. We have a housing shortage already. but we can't allow sewage to go out uncontrolled, and we want to help folks. So I'm really impressed the county is coming up with some creative ways to help people, such as when your lot is too small, to combine several lots into one sewage system to rebuild that way.
Okay.
Then the last thing that went well is after the fire and the recovery, the county and lots of other agencies came together and had kind of like a job fair, but for recovery, where recovery residents could come in and in one room see finance, see health, see assessor's office, get everything they need all in one stop.
Yeah.
And then that effort is still continuing, especially with Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. They're still helping people figure out what needs they need to get met and finding funding to do that. It's really very impressive work all over.
Very good. All right. Well, that leads me into the next question here. Many rural fire districts depend heavily on grants and donations rather than a strong tax base. And what is your plan to stabilize long-term funding for rural fire districts so they have the equipment and the staffing necessary to protect remote communities? Like, we just have a lot of volunteer fire departments out there, and they're becoming more and more necessary as things get drier and heavier fuels and such. So
the rural fire departments are one piece that I've learned there's three levels, and it helps to think of the three levels. The first would be a city fire department, and they have the equipment and the training to deal with structure fires, houses, buildings, and things like that. In fact, in the Rowena fire, the Mid-Columbia Fire Rescue went out, started the initial response, and then pulled back. And it was a good thing they did because there was a fire in town. Yeah. And then the next level is the rural fire departments, who have different equipment and different training. They've got these big, beautiful 4x4 trucks with sprayers on the front and the back. And their job is to get out on the land, get out in the rough terrain, and spray down fire breaks. And they're always that first attack to try and prevent. And if the fire gets beyond their capacity, then comes in the third layer, which is the state and the federal firefighters. And they come in with the big rigs, the airplanes, the bulldozers. Yeah. And what they do mostly is lay down fire breaks and lay down fire barriers. Yeah. So those three layers. But what we want to think about first is the rural fire protection districts, because we want to protect them across the county. They get a lot of their funding from grants, but also a fair amount from ambulance service. And I want to, that deserves mention right here because it's an issue that's come up. Because, as you say, it's been hard to find more and more volunteers because folks are getting aging, and middle-aged people have jobs. Yep. That's been a problem that we've seen happening. And so one proposal to help that was to establish a county-wide ambulance service area. Okay. Well, I have heard, and the other commissioners have heard loud and clear that the local communities in South Wasco County do not like that idea. So it has been tabled, shelved, put to rest. Okay. Instead, I really respect that they're right, that the local fire districts know their land the best. They know the people by name, and so they deserve to be respected and supported. Okay. Now, moving forward, how to do that, most of them do not have a tax base, but in fact, one district, the Wamick Fire District, this year has a tax levy on the May ballot. And they're an important district because they have a big job to do. Not just Wamick, they also protect Sportsman's Paradise and Pine Hollow. And those are communities that are right up against the forest. Yeah, and so they need to get out there fast. Interface, yeah, they've got an excellent chief, Lynn McGill, and they've got great crews. So honestly, I think I would support this tax levy. We don't like to see our taxes go up, but we don't like to see our insurance rate go up either. Right. And in the long run and in the short run, I'd rather pay for protection than to pay for insurance to rebuild. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, very good. I'm going to talk about water infrastructure in small districts, of which we have several, and you just kind of mentioned one there. Small districts like Pine Grove and Tule face aging infrastructure and regulatory complexity. So what specific role should the county play in helping these small water districts secure funding?
technical expertise, and long-term sustainability for drinking water systems. It's kind of like just a meat and potatoes issue at the county level, and how do we get these districts, or get them in good running order?
I'd much rather deal with the meat and potatoes issues than the culture war issues.
Sure.
This is because, and honestly, local government is the most important government because it's the one that's closest to us and serves us. I'm very proud to say I have earned a reputation for showing up in the small communities in Wasco County. In fact, just last night, I was in Pine Grove for their water district meeting.
Right.
I'm very proud of that district. They've been working for 3 years because the well that they have was built in the 70s, and back then it would pump 100 gallons a minute. And now, 50 years later, it's only pumping 40 gallons a minute. And so they've been working for 3 years to get the money together to build a second well. The state of Oregon has similar, like a one-stop shop system where they can go and meet all at once with funding agencies, technical assistance, and grants to get themselves started. And they've done a great job taking advantage of that, but it's taken them 3 years.
Right.
So last night at the meeting, they were at the point where they were preparing the public statement to say, okay, community, here's what we're thinking about. Give us your comment. We're going to take out a loan for $1,790,000 to build another well. And to pay for that, they're going to increase their water rates. It'll go up for them kind of similar to the levels we have here in the Dalles. And I recognize for rural folks, that's a big increase, but I'm super proud of them because Pine Grove has a future because the people there want to pay for it. In my second term, looking broader, I really do want to focus on its meat and potatoes issues, water and sewage in other parts of the county, because like Rowena, the same problems are applying. There's old water systems, old sewage systems that are just aging out, and often the lots are too small. So we're going to need to have some creative solutions to help those folks.
Oftentimes the what are too small?
The sewer systems. If you've got a small lot and your sewer system has aged out, you don't have another small lot to put it on. Yeah, so that's going to require a whole different solution.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very good. So we'll jump into this. The data centers. Google's data centers have become the county's largest taxpayer and major economic force. The new data center that just came on, the fourth in the Dalles, the revenue on that was, I think, $9.8 million was the last we ran down. So how should Wasco County balance the economic benefits of large industrial investments like data centers with concerns about water use, infrastructure demands, and transparency and tax incentives?
Yeah, first we need to respect that Google has brought a lot of investment into the Dalles. It's brought a lot of the Dalles, and you're right, it is our largest taxpayer in the Dalles, and it's given us a regional visibility. There are 65 data centers across Oregon, but we kind of become known as a major player for that. The trouble with data centers and taxes is the structure, and we need to get this right because we're going to continue to have large, not just data centers, but solar power development, especially in the far southern parts of the county. So how we make our tax structure is going to be real important. The problem with the current way we're dealing with the taxes, it creates a boom and bust cycle. We start out with initial payment in lieu of taxes, like tax abatement, and give us a big bump. And then when those payments, regular property taxes come in, they go down quickly because the equipment depreciates. We all know the value of computers doesn't last long. And the same thing for
5-6 years.
Yeah. So the property tax structure isn't stable over the long term. Now, and that's going to be particularly important, as we go forward. What I would propose is what I really like is what I saw happen in the Washington State Legislature this year, that they proposed, instead of property tax on solar development, to do an excise tax. An excise tax is a tax that's paid like we did with timber. We still do timber. We tax timber companies for the amount of lumber that they're harvesting. And we could do the same with solar, tax them on the amount of kilowatt hours that they're producing. And that would give a steady tax base instead of a up and down boom and bust cycle.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of water, I really trust Margaret Hoffman.
Well, can we back up for a second?
Yeah.
So can you apply that excise tax to a Google data center? Not any data center.
Well, two things. One, here in Wasco County, if you just look at the map of the Dalles, there's not much room for expansion. So the data centers are built are pretty much the ones that have, although they might start refurbishing some of them, and then their taxes would go up and down again.
Yes.
And in terms of, I don't think they'd let us get near knowing how much data they're producing,
right?
And how to measure that would be fun. A fun physics problem. So, thinking about water and electric use. Margaret Hoffman used to be the head of USDA here in Oregon. I have tremendous respect for her. And she is taking the lead role in the governor's task force looking into these issues of data and center use in water and electricity. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to her report because I think it'll give us an honest look. For myself, water is important, but I also think we're going to be thinking more seriously about the amount of energy that these centers are consumptive because we haven't been producing as much as the centers are using. In general, our resources here, our land and our sunlight, they belong to us, and so we need to have a tax structure that makes things a fair game.
Okay. And do you have concerns about the water use, the amount of water use?
I've had good conversations with Dave Anderson, the former water master, and he's another person I really trust with. He knows the data, he knows the land, and Google's been a good neighbor. At first, it took them a while to get used to us and realize, hey, they're going to be here for a while. But in the last years, they've been paying for drilling wells to put water down into the aquifer, and that water, when we bring it back out, it goes for them, but also comes into the Dalles City system. So they're trying the best to do what they can. Yeah,
and they call that ASR, but essentially what they're doing is the city's treating water, they bring it down, and then they actually pump it down into the aquifer, and then that water can be brought back up. I think it's a 90% of what's put in, something like that, and then that water can be used, which is super important, especially in I'm kind of jumping in here, but it's really important people know this, that's very important in a dry year, especially like this one when there's no snowpack. That water then can be conserved, especially during high peak times when we have a lot of runoff and that kind of thing. So that bit, I mean, is that science true with you?
Absolutely, especially the issue of snowpack. Snowpack is a much larger reservoir of water than a reservoir. So the fact that, in climate change warming up our environments, we're going to have more snow-free, bad ski years like this year, and we're going to need all the reservoir we can.
Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. And I'm going to jump into economic development. Wasco County faces the challenge of diversifying beyond a few large employers. What specific industries or economic sectors should the county actively recruit or invest in over the next decade to strengthen long-term economic resilience? It's a tough one. Do you have some ideas about?
Well, yes.
Okay.
The simple foundation is, if you want to attract businesses, be a community where people want to live. The best way to attract business is to have a high quality of life. And so do the things that promote your community. For example, Hood River didn't say, hey, we're going to go out and find a drone industry. And it didn't happen there because it's a great place to fly drones. It happened there because there were people who came to Hood River to windsurf. And then they happened to start a drone company. And then it grew and grew and grew. It starts with livability. In Wasco County, we do have a lot of livability assets. We've got great weather. We've got good transportation. We do have energy resources available. We've got good schools across the county. And so we got the things to build on. There are a couple issues that we need to address better. One is housing. That is holding us back. And another one that we can continue to work on, we're doing a lot on this that's going to help, is broadband. I see two places where growth can happen without too much push. One is in the southern parts of the county, people want to live there because it's a great place to live. Yeah. And professionals are moving in, and I see this trend happening more and more. Professionals move in, and if they have broadband, they can live where they want to live, close to the recreation, close to the countryside, and then work in another city, in another state, by virtually. It's happening a lot. I have worked with finance people who are in Hawaii, who are in Montana, but hey, I'm in the Columbia Gorge. I've got it good here.
Are you pointing to Maupin when you're talking about that? Like I know they have excellent broadband.
And then move that out further into South County. Some fun things are happening all the way down in Antelope, one of my favorite communities. That's building up. They're taking advantage of their dark sky and resources. And Brandy McNamee has started a RV park where people from Portland can get there in 3 hours, put up their telescopes. I do this myself. I take astrophotography for fun. And then she's even restarting the old cafe. So that'll bring one job to Antelope, which is one more than they got.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me, if I could track it, my favorite industry, I would pick mass timber. I think South Wasco County could pick up where we lost the timber industry with mass timber. And what that is, it's engineered lumber. Think of the structures inside the Portland airport.
Yes.
That's mass timber. Huge pieces of laminate, like plywood, that have been pre-cut, and then they can be put together to make houses. It'd be high quality, good wage jobs, steady family incomes. And then the last one is, building on what we have. I see more and more growth of solar power far south in the county. And those jobs are going to be needed to fill with people who've been trained at Columbia Gorge Community College. Okay. Once again, it's great starting good paying jobs that are stable and jobs that can't be done remotely. The people are going to want to live here to do those jobs.
Right.
In general, start with livability. Livability attracts talent, and businesses want to go where the talent is.
Very good. Well, since you hit on livability, I'm going to jump around here on you a little bit, but I think it's a nice segue. Do we need a new high school in the Dalles? So what should the county's role be in the school district's push for a new high school? I know they're getting some nice community service fees now after that first data center came on, but what's the county's role in pushing forward that issue of livability, education? Most people are looking at education when they're going to move to a community.
Exactly, yeah. Yes, yes, we do need a new high school, and we've needed a new high school for a long time. Yeah. I worked with Joan Silver 2 bond issues ago to try and get a new high school, and I admit that bond was too complicated and too long a commitment, but we'll need to try again. The county's role is not a large role in this. We can steer some of the fees from here, but otherwise it really is a school district choice. However, I can see, when we've talked about boom and bust cycles of solar power, we should look toward finding that boom cycle, and I'll call it peak Google.
Yeah, okay.
And at that point, if we pass a tax levy to build a high school, for every dollar that every house phones in, Google will be putting up a lot more. So this, if people say, hey, we want Google to pay for this, well, it will if we tax ourselves and Google along with us. And then this is something dear to my heart. I would really love to see a new high school, and I think the key to it is also to identify what do we do with the old high school. It's a beautiful building, and it needs to have a purpose. My dream would be to turn the old high school into an all citywide pre-K and kindergarten. Redesign it. We could raise the floor, put a toilet in every classroom, and so those little kids can, get there for their needs. Keep the gym for public use. It's a great gym to play basketball. A citywide kindergarten will serve those kids better than scattering them around, because when they get together, they focus on Put everything at their level, put it that way. And it would also take students out of our existing grade school so that they're not so stressed.
Yeah, right.
And then at the same time, build a high school out on the Wetumpka site, and we can build that right size, but leave room for expansion. That would be the package I would put together to pitch to build the new high school. Right time in terms of taxes, right size both for little kids and for the city.
Okay, very good. All right. And this kind of comes on the heels of it too. So on the Google Gap funds, there's millions. Like I believe the last number, just off this new data center, the latest that has come online out there at 5300 River Road, 3500 River Road. I think it was 5.75 and the split equally between the city and the county. So how should that money, millions of Google payments to the county, which can be used for anything, be spent? Like, do you have some real strong feelings about how that money should be used?
Both for a person's individual finances and also for as a community, it's good to save for the future because we always discount what things are going to cost in the future, but also take care of immediate needs. So we can do both.
Okay.
They put some away for savings because, like I said before, the Google income, the taxes are going to be depreciating. So that's not going to be there down into the future. So saving some, put it in an endowment so that we can draw interest off that endowment to do future projects makes sense. But then there are immediate needs, and not everything's going to fly. We need to be able to say no and have reasons for saying no. And I would give a couple reasons. One is say yes to things that require construction because the cost of construction goes up faster than the cost of investment earnings. So you can't save in order to build. It's going to cost you more. Second, if something is about to break, like a bridge, it costs more to repair than to fix. And likewise, if something is impeding growth, that's the housing kind of issue. If it's blocking growth, well, the growth could fuel more income in the future. So the way you can invest in the stock market or you can invest in your community. Yeah. A couple of things not to invest to do with quick money. It's always a bad idea to take one-time income and use it for salaries because when the income is gone, the job position goes away and you're left stuck. Same way with at a higher scale to start a whole new building or a whole new project with one-time income if that's not going to have ongoing revenue into the future. So I have to learn how to say no. And the last point I'd say yes is when there's a dire social need. And we saw that in COVID, that we were suffering so bad and the economy was so bad that we had to do some spending just to hold the people together. And honestly, we could see those times again. So yes, spend some of it now, but with criteria and I think we have mature leaders in our community who can say no when they're giving reasons to say no, but then save as much as we can. 60, 75% go into savings.
All right. Very good. Say that again, 60, what was the number?
I'm throwing out numbers like finance people say save 60%, spend 40%, but I could say we can push that higher because we have a lot of money coming in. Okay. So put more money into saving.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, excellent, Phil. Thank you so much for joining us here today and answering our questions. And we'll see you out there on the campaign trail.
I enjoy campaigning. It's a pleasure. I actually enjoy knocking on doors and talking to people. We have a wonderful community, and people are really open to and encouraged to get involved in these elections. And like I say, it's good to have the election like this where we've got lots of candidates with different ideas so we can choose the direction our community goes.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to hear all the different ideas and get things percolating. I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming in today.
Good.